Last winter, I was standing in the kitchen, holding the electric bill in my hands. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I looked down at the number, $136.28. It hit me like a punch to the gut. When your income is barely $1,170 a month, even a small bill can feel like a mountain. And when you're living alone, after years of caring for others, after raising a family, those numbers feel heavier somehow. Like they're not just about money. They're about dignity. I know many of you understand that kind of pressure. You've carried families on your back, made every penny count, and now, in this season of life, you're expected to stretch what little you have even further. It is not right. It is not fair. But it is real. And if you're feeling tired, maybe a little scared, maybe unsure of what comes next, I want you to know this. You're not alone. You're not failing. You are surviving in a world that makes it harder every day for older women to live with the respect and stability they deserve. This video is not about judgment. It is about wisdom. It is about sharing what I have learned from living on a fixed income, from letting go of pride, and from finding peace in simpler things. 1. Housing. Making peace with small. They say a man is the king of his castle, but I'll tell you something they don't say enough. Sometimes, that castle becomes a burden. When my wife passed, the house got quieter, and then the bills got louder. Property taxes, heating, maintenance, every creak in the floorboards started to sound like a question. Can you still do this? Can you afford to stay? For a long time, I said yes, not because I could, but because I thought I should. You see, that house was where we raised our kids. It was where we danced in the kitchen on Tuesday nights, where we fought over silly things and made up over coffee. Letting it go felt like letting her go all over again, but holding on to it meant giving up other things: peace, rest, a feeling of safety. And here's the part I want to share with you, especially if you're an older woman out there, maybe on your own now, maybe carrying more than your share like you always have. You do not have to keep suffering just to keep a roof you cannot afford. I moved into a senior housing apartment last year. It's 1 bedroom. The wallpaper is nothing to brag about. But you know what? I sleep through the night now. The rent is steady. The thermostat works. No more patching gutters or worrying about snow removal. And I can finally afford the medication I used to stretch every month. I know some of you are still in that house, still trying to make the numbers work, still clipping coupons and turning down the heat, still thinking maybe things will get easier if you just hold out long enough. But let me ask you gently, what is it costing you? There are programs out there, good ones, low-income housing for seniors, Section 8 vouchers, local nonprofits that can help walk you through the paperwork. It's not easy, but neither is living in fear of the next rent hike or the next leaky pipe. And you don't have to do it alone. Some of the strongest women I know are sharing spaces now, living with friends, renting out rooms, even moving in with their adult daughters. And not because they are weak, but because they are wise, because they know the difference between pride and peace. If you're holding on because you don't want to feel like a burden, let me tell you something. You've carried enough. You've raised kids, held families together, cooked meals out of almost nothing, and stood tall through every storm. You are not a burden. You are a blessing. So if the time comes to let go of a home that no longer serves you, it is not defeat. It is love. Love for yourself. Love for your future. And maybe, just maybe, love for a life that still has peace left in it. We all grow old, but we don't have to grow hard. We can choose softer, smaller, kinder, and still live with dignity. 2. Food. Feeding yourself with care, not just calories. I'll tell you something I did not expect when I started living on a tighter budget: how emotional food can be. Not just the cost of it, but the meaning behind it. For years, my wife and I cooked together. She had this way of turning a bag of dried beans and a few onions into something that smelled like home. I miss that more than I can say. But now, cooking has become something else. It's not about big Sunday roasts or feeding a table full of kids anymore. It's about staying full and healthy without breaking the budget. When you're living on a fixed income, especially alone, grocery shopping becomes a kind of math you never wanted to learn. You ask yourself, can I afford this chicken? Should I skip fruit this week? How many meals can I stretch from one pot of soup? Here's what I've learned, and what I want to share with you. You can eat well on a low income, but it takes intention, and it takes letting go of what eating well used to look like. I start every month with a food plan. Nothing fancy, just a list of meals I know I can make with simple, inexpensive ingredients. Things like oats, rice, canned beans, eggs, frozen vegetables, potatoes, and peanut butter. I still buy meat, but only on sale, and I freeze it in small portions. I cook in batches. On Sundays, I make a big pot of soup or chili and eat from it all week. I found that when I plan ahead, I waste less, spend less, and eat better. Now I know some of you don't love cooking. Maybe you never had to do it much, or maybe your body just feels tired. I get that. But even if you cook simple things, boiled eggs, steamed veggies, a sandwich with a piece of fruit, that's still nourishment. It's still care. If the grocery bills are stretching you too far, please check to see if you qualify for help. SNAP, also called food stamps, is there for seniors too. You earned that support. You're not taking from anyone else. You're protecting your health. And don't forget your community. Many churches and food banks offer groceries with no questions asked. Some towns have senior food programs that deliver right to your door. Ask at your library or local senior center. People will help if they know you need it. I also like to keep a few comfort foods on hand. Not expensive things. Just a favorite tea or crackers I remember from childhood. Because eating isn't only about nutrition. It's about feeling human. And if you're ever standing in the grocery store aisle debating whether you deserve that one little treat, let me answer it for you. Yes, you do. You've fed everyone else for most of your life. It's time to feed yourself, not just with calories, but with kindness. No matter your budget, you deserve to feel full. Not just in your stomach, but in your spirit. 3. Transportation. Getting around without going broke. There was a time when I thought I'd always have a car. I grew up believing that owning your own vehicle meant freedom. It meant independence. It meant you could go wherever you wanted, whenever you wanted. But somewhere along the way, that car started to feel more like a chain than a key. Between insurance, repairs, gas, and registrations, I was spending more just to keep it running than I could justify. And I'm not talking about some shiny new model. I'm talking about an old sedan with 3 hubcaps, a cracked windshield, and a heater that only worked when it wanted to. When my mechanic looked me in the eye and said, "It'll cost another $800 to fix it," I looked back and realized I was done. Selling that car was hard. It felt like I was giving up one more piece of the life I used to know. But what I did not expect was the sense of relief that came afterward. No more surprise repair bills. No more insurance premiums draining my account. No more wondering if I would break down on the side of the road. Now, I take the senior shuttle when I need to. It runs twice a week in my town, to the grocery store, the pharmacy, and the doctor's office. I plan around it, and when I need something outside that schedule, I ask. My neighbor's son gives me a ride sometimes. I trade him banana bread or help keep an eye on his dog. If you are still holding on to a car you can barely afford, I want you to know there are other ways, and they might not look like freedom at first, but they just might feel like peace. If you live in a town with public transportation, see if they offer discounts for seniors. Many places have monthly bus passes or tokens you can get at reduced rates. If you are not sure where to look, call your local senior center or area agency on aging. They'll point you in the right direction. And if you do need to keep your car for now, there are still ways to cut costs. Shop around for cheaper insurance every year. Ask about mileage-based plans if you don't drive much. Raise your deductible if you have a little emergency fund built up. And skip anything you do not absolutely need. One of the women in my building drives an old pickup. It's not pretty, but it runs. She splits gas with her neighbor who doesn't drive, and together they make their rounds every Thursday. They laugh a lot. That part is free. Transportation looks different at this stage in life. It is slower. It is more planned. But it does not have to be painful. You do not have to go broke just to get from point A to point B. You have already carried a family, a household, a lifetime of errands and responsibilities. It is okay to stop and ask for a ride. It is okay to stay home more. It is okay to rest. You are not less independent for needing help. You are wise for finding a way that works for you, your body, your budget, your peace. 4. Utilities. Cutting to the bone without losing connection. One thing I've learned about aging is how quiet the world can get when money is tight. Sometimes that quiet comes from peace, but sometimes it comes from being disconnected. Back when we still had the old house, our utility bills would change with the seasons, and not in a good way. The winters hit hardest. That furnace ran all day just to keep the edge off, and every month I dreaded opening that envelope. The electric bill alone would wipe out my grocery money. It felt like a punishment for just wanting to stay warm. When I moved into a smaller apartment, the bills got smaller too, but they didn't disappear. And with the Affordable Connectivity Program ending, even internet became harder to keep. That program helped for a while, and losing it stung. So, how do you stay connected? Physically, emotionally, digitally, on a budget this tight? First, you cut back to the absolute essentials. I keep my lights off during the day, use LED bulbs, and unplug anything I don't need. It sounds small, but it adds up. I keep the thermostat low in the winter and dress in layers. In the summer, I use a fan more than the air conditioner. I drink cold water, pull the blinds, and sit by the window for the breeze. Next is the phone. I switched to a low-cost prepaid plan 2 years ago. I pay $10 a month. It is not fancy. No unlimited data. But it works. I can call my kids. I can get text reminders from my doctor's office. And I can hear the voice of my sister on the other side of the country. That, to me, is worth more than any upgrade. If you're paying $40 or $50 a month for a cell phone, you might be overpaying. There are companies that offer senior-friendly plans: Mint Mobile, Red Pocket, Tello, and more. And the Lifeline program still exists. It offers discounted or even free phone service for those who qualify. It is worth checking. As for internet, that's become a lifeline too, especially when everything from banking to Social Security updates is now done online. I don't stream movies or scroll for hours, but I do need to pay bills, check my email, and once in a while, watch a video from my granddaughter's school play. If you can't afford home internet, try these workarounds. The library offers free Wi-Fi, and no one rushes you out. Some coffee shops do too, and even McDonald's if you bring a cup of coffee. There are also community centers and some churches that let seniors come in during the day, just to stay connected. You can also ask your local senior center or housing coordinator if there are partnerships or programs that offer refurbished tablets or low-cost devices. In some cities, nonprofits give away used smartphones or laptops to low-income seniors. I got mine through a local tech recycling program. It isn't new, but it does what I need. Here's something else I want to say, especially to the women out there who've gone most of their lives without asking for much. It's okay to reach out. You've spent your whole life keeping others warm, fed, and safe. You deserve to be warm. You deserve to have a working phone. You deserve to video chat your grandkids and feel like the world hasn't passed you by. I once heard someone say, "Don't go broke trying to look connected." That stuck with me. You don't need the latest gadget. You don't need the fastest plan. You just need enough to stay in touch with your family, with your community, with your peace of mind. And if you're ever sitting in the dark, not because the sun has gone down, but because you're trying to save a few cents, please know this: you're not alone. There are options. And more importantly, there are people who care. People who would help if they knew. Sometimes dignity looks like asking the right question. Sometimes connection starts with admitting, "This is hard." And sometimes staying warm means letting someone else carry the load for a while. You've earned rest. You've earned support. And yes, even in this world of rising costs and shrinking checks, you can stay connected without losing yourself in the process. 5. Health. Caring for your body. When the budget says you can't. Health is one of those things you never think will be a luxury until one day it is. When we were younger, we toughed things out. We ignored the aches, shook off the fatigue, skipped the doctor unless it was serious. But now, those little things add up. A stiff knee, a cough that won't quit, a prescription that costs more than it used to. And the hardest part? Knowing that even when you finally ask for help, you might not be able to afford it. I remember sitting in the pharmacy one afternoon, trying to decide between buying my blood pressure meds or groceries. I had a $20 bill and both receipts in my hand. I stood there for 15 minutes, pretending to read a magazine. I did not want to admit it, but I could not pay for both. That was the moment I knew I had to find another way. If you're there now, if your monthly budget leaves almost nothing for health, please hear me clearly. You are not alone. You are not weak. You are navigating a broken system with grace, and there are tools that can help. First, check if your state has expanded Medicaid. Some states allow people over 65 with limited income to get coverage, even if they're already receiving Medicare. It might feel like a maze, but there are organizations that can guide you through it. Start with your local area agency on aging. If you're uninsured or underinsured, look for community health clinics. They often offer sliding scale fees, which means you pay based on your income, even if it's very little. I've gone to mine for blood work, checkups, and once even a dental referral. I was treated with respect and never rushed out the door. For prescriptions, GoodRx has been a lifesaver. Sometimes it's cheaper than using insurance. I also check Walmart and other grocery pharmacies that offer common generics. Some medications are $4 or less. $4. That's the difference between suffering and sleeping through the night. There are also nonprofits that help with specific conditions: diabetes, arthritis, heart issues. Some offer medication assistance or transportation to appointments. You just have to ask. Libraries and senior centers often keep flyers or can connect you to someone who knows the way. Now, for the other part of health, what we call the small things, even though they matter more than we admit. Things like toothpaste, shampoo, pain relief, heating pads, sanitary items, lotion for dry skin, denture cleaner. They cost money. And when the budget is tight, they're the first to go. Please know there are places that help. Women's shelters, food pantries, dollar stores, church programs. You're not asking for handouts. You're asking for the basics of human dignity. And don't forget your body's free tools: rest, stretching, walking, sunlight, warm water. I start every morning with a 10-minute stretch. Nothing complicated, just enough to loosen my back and remind myself I'm still here, still strong, still worth caring for. I want to say something else to those of you who spent years taking care of other people, your children, your husband, your aging parents. Maybe you were the one who always remembered the appointments, who held hands in waiting rooms, who made soup and drove to the ER at midnight. Maybe you never thought about your own needs back then. But now it is your turn. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. It is not wasteful. It is survival. And it is a quiet form of self-respect that no one can take away from you. Even if all you can do this month is keep your medicine stocked, brush your teeth, and put your feet up for a while, you're doing something sacred. You're honoring a body that has carried you this far. And that, dear friend, is not small. That is everything. 6. Everything else. Clothing, emergencies, and life's little surprises. After rent, groceries, medication, and utilities. You might look at what's left and laugh, just to keep from crying. Maybe it's a $20 bill. Maybe it's nothing but change in a jar. And yet somehow, from that tiny leftover, we're expected to cover everything else: clothing, birthdays, shampoo, batteries, a new pair of glasses, a flat tire, a grandchild's graduation gift. The truth is, this is the part no budget ever truly prepares you for: the unexpected and the unspoken. You know the feeling. Your last pair of winter shoes starts leaking. The zipper on your only warm coat breaks. Your neighbor's daughter invites you to her baby shower, and you want to bring something, just something small, to show you care. But when every dollar is already spoken for, where do you find room for life? I'll be honest with you. This part hurts. Not just financially, but emotionally. It feels like you're always saying no. No to yourself. No to joy. No to the little things that used to make life feel like living. But I've learned something over the years, and I want to pass it on. You don't need money to be generous, to be dignified, or to be whole. There are ways to soften this season, even when it's hard. I keep a small envelope in my kitchen drawer marked Grace. Some months, it only gets $5, maybe less. But over time, it adds up. It has covered emergency Tylenol, a small gift bag of tea for a friend, a set of socks from the dollar store. Nothing flashy, but each one, when it mattered, felt like a quiet victory. When it comes to clothing, I've let go of pride and embraced what I call the second-hand blessing. Thrift stores, church clothing closets, swap tables at the library, they're filled with clean, perfectly good items that someone else just outgrew or let go. I found warm sweaters for $3, brand name coats for $5. Sometimes I think God hides treasure in places like that, just for people who are paying attention. Gifts? I write letters. I bake banana bread. I frame old photos. Last Christmas, I wrote a short poem for each of my grandkids and wrapped them in used ribbon. They cried. I did too. And for emergencies, those inevitable life happens moments, I don't pretend I can plan for everything. But I can plan for something. That $5 a month envelope, that habit of saying no to one small treat in favor of peace later, that has saved me more times than I can count. But more than anything, I want to say this to you. Your life is not small just because your budget is. You're allowed to laugh, to give, to show up with joy, even if your purse is empty. You're allowed to want beauty, even if it's simple. You're allowed to dream, even if the dream is just having a good day, a warm bath, or someone to talk to who truly sees you. Money can buy many things, but it cannot buy the strength you've earned from surviving. It cannot replace the wisdom in your hands or the kindness in your heart, and it certainly cannot diminish the value of your story. So if all you can do today is light a candle, wash your face, and sit down with a cup of tea, you've done enough, more than enough. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're not alone. This world may be hard, but you, my dear, are harder to break. If you've made it this far with me, thank you. I know this conversation has not been easy. Talking about money, about limits, about letting go of things we once took for granted. It's vulnerable. It's humbling. But it's also powerful. Because facing reality doesn't mean giving up. It means showing up with courage, with wisdom, and with compassion for ourselves. You may be living on less now, but you are not less worthy, not less strong, not less alive. There's still beauty in your life, even in the quiet. There's still purpose, even in the waiting. And there's still hope. Yes, hope, even on the hardest days. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep showing up. Keep taking care of yourself. One decision at a time. And if this video made you feel a little more seen, a little more supported, please subscribe. Not for me, but for you. So you'll have more of this gentle space where wisdom lives, and no one has to pretend they're fine when they're not. If you know another woman who might need this kind of encouragement, send it her way. And if you have your own tip, story, or just a word of comfort, leave it in the comments. Someone else might need to hear your voice today. Until next time, take care of that beautiful heart of yours. You've carried so much, and you're still standing. That's not just survival. That's grace.